Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for very kindly coming back to our discussions on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because of all the devotees present here, as I always mention, it's an impetus for me. I am inspired to speak something because of all of your presence. So thank you so much for coming. Please pray for me. Please bless me so that I can speak some favorable words in the glorification of today's topic. Please accept my very, very humble obeisances. Vancha kalpatarobhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Om Ajnanathimiranthasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanostute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Ananda Lilamaya Vigrahaya Hemavadivya Chavisundaraya Tasmaye Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Shriman Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you. Just give me a second, dear devotees. So, okay, Bhavik, I'll make you the host so that you can take care of this. I'm not sure whether I'm pinned. Bhavik, can you confirm? Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guru. Can you hear me?
So Hare Krishna. Thank you so much to all the devotees for so enthusiastically coming for so many weeks. This is our 18th class, 18th session on the Srimad Bhagavatam. We have completed 17 sessions till now. And naturally, we are almost in the fag end. We are in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in a few weeks, once the 10th canto is done, the 11th and 12th canto is just going to be an overview. Of course, the 10th canto is also an overview, but we just spent a little more time here on the 10th canto. So, few days back in India, we had the appearance day of Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And I think here in Seattle, I think as far as the calendar is concerned, it showed today. So I'm not sure whether it is today or yesterday, but irrespective of whether it is today or yesterday, I thought we will start our discussion by speaking something on Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who holds a very, very, very prominent place in the life of all the Gaudiyas. We know Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India Yatra. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the age of 24 took sannyas. Just at the young age of 24, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu renounced everything and took sannyas. And after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on a South India Yatra. We also sometimes, we go on different yatras, Vrindavan Yatra, Mayapur Yatra, Jagannath Yatra, sometimes Pune Yatra, Hampi Yatra, and similarly you have these yatras like South India Yatra. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, and the primary reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the South was for two things. The first reason why Gauranga Mahaprabhu went to South India was to meet Ramananda Rai. Rai Ramananda was not different from Vishaka Sakhi, was the primary reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to go to the South, which he fulfilled. He first met Ramananda Rai, and very submissively, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knows everything, but he wanted to hear from Ramananda Rai. And as Ramananda Rai was speaking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood as Radha Bhav was just exploding and exploding and exploding. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted this. So that was the first reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the South, to meet Ramananda Rai. And the second reason why Gauranga Mahaprabhu goes to South is to meet young Gopal Bhatta. Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who was Goswami later, but when he was small, he was Gopal Bhatta. Gopal Bhatta is the son of Venkata Bhatta, who is again Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associate. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to meet Gopal Bhatta, and for the 4 months of Chaturmas, we see Chaturmas is the time during the rainy season. And the 4 months, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, also Prabhupada mentions that ideally a sadhaka should follow the 4 months of Chaturmas, where he refrains from green leafy vegetables, he refrains from curd, he refrains from different things, culminating in the last month of Kartik. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during those 4 months of Chaturmas was living in the house of Venkata Bhatta. And whenever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go and take a bath, Mahaprabhu would go to the nearby lake. Whenever Gauranga Mahaprabhu would go and take a bath, young Gopal Bhatta would offer service to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would be waiting outside, very humbly, very innocently, 5-year-old. He would be waiting outside. Whenever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come and he would finish his bath, young Gopal Bhatta would give cloth to Mahaprabhu to wipe. He would give the sannyas cloth. He would give the kopin, doing menial service for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And 4 months, Gopal Bhatta, young Gopal Bhatta, served Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a sannyasi. After 4 months, when the Chaturmas was done, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided that it's time to go to other places also, preaching cannot be just done in one place. Mahaprabhu had to go to other places also to preach. So after 4 months, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the house of Venkata Bhatta. To reiterate, Venkata Bhatta is the father, the son is Gopal Bhatta. After 4 months, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left. But when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left, he gave an instruction to Gopal Bhatta. We find that Sri Krishna performed pastimes 5,000 years ago, 5,500 years ago. And as time progressed, most of these pastime places became lost to the naked eye. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes, Kalena Vrindavana Keli Vartam Lupte Titam Khyapaitum Vishishya Kripamritena Vishishya Devas Tatraiva Rupam Cha Sanatanam Cha. Kalena Vrindavana Keli Vartam Lupta. Over a period of time, the pastime places in the land of Vrindavan, they became Lupta. Lupta means lost. They became completely lost. So much so that the Radha Kund and Sham Kund, that we desire to go so much. We see in our Bhakti Shastri, we study Nectar of Instruction. And the last ending verses, Rupa Goswami glorifies Radha Kund as the highest place in the whole of manifestation. That Radha Kund which is the highest place in this world, had become lost to the eye. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in 1515, about 507 years back, in 1515, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Braj for the very first time, Mahaprabhu came and asked the Brajavasis, Radhakund kothai? Where is Radhakund? I don't find Radhakund. And the Brajavasis were looking at each other, completely perplexed. They had a question mark on their face. Radhakund? What is Radhakund? We don't know any Radhakund. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Radhakund, the place where so many pastimes Krishna performs along with Radharani. The Brajavasis were clueless. Why? Because it had become extinct. It had become lost to the eye. So many important places in Vrindavan that we go for yatra, these places had become completely lost. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took the onus of reviving, of re-establishing these lost pastime places. And for this, he empowered the 6 Goswamis. Primarily, he empowered Tatraiva Rupam cha Sanatanamta. He empowered Rupa and Sanatan. But at the same time, he empowered other Goswamis also. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when after 4 months when he was leaving, he gave one very important instruction to young Gopal Bhatta. And that instruction was to go to Vrindavan. Tumi jao Vrindavan. Go to Vrindavan as soon as possible, ASAP, without a delay. Just go to Braj. And as Gopal Bhatta grew up, he took this instruction to his heart. And when the right age came, he packed his bags and went to Vrindavan Dham. And now, as we know, as Gopal Bhatta had become Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he was living in this land of Braj. And as he was living in this land of Braj, it is very important to know who is Gopal Bhatta Goswami. What is the identity of Gopal Bhatta Goswami? Who is Gopal Bhatta Goswami in Brajalila? In Krishna's pastimes, who is Gopal Bhatta Goswami? We find that Srimati Radharani has 360 moods. How many moods do we have? We can count on our fingers. Angry, happy, maybe cheerful, maybe sad. We can just count on our fingers how many moods we have. Probably it won't even cross 10. 10 would be the highest. Srimati Radharani has 360 moods. 360 moods. While our Krishna, who in the Bhagavad Gita very, very gloriously, he glorifies himself that, oh, there is no one greater than me. Our Krishna has 96 moods. Radharani has double and triple of that of Krishna, 360 moods. These moods of Srimati Radharani are reflected in the gopis. These moods of Radharani are reflected in the manjaris. When Radharani is happy, it is reflected in the manjaris. When Radharani is sad, it is reflected in the gopis. Whatever Radharani is feeling in her heart, it gets reflected to the heart of the gopis or the manjaris. Just like when we have a crystal and you place a rose in front of the crystal, what happens? The white crystal immediately becomes red because when it's there in close proximity, it reflects. Similarly, whatever is going on in the heart of Radhika gets reflected in the heart of the gopis or the manjaris. For example, the qualities that Srimati Radharani has. Radharani has so many different qualities. These qualities get reflected in her sakhis, in her maid servants. Srimati Radharani is very artistic. She's very skilled. She's very artistic. And this artistic nature of Radharani gets reflected in Chitra Sakhi. We see when we go to in Mayapur, we have different Ashta Sakhis. One Sakhi is Chitra Sakhi. We have Chitra Sakhi's village called as Chiksoli Gaon in Braj. We have Chiksoli Gaon and we have a nice Chitra Sakhi's garden where Chitra Sakhi performs her pastimes. So the artistic ability of Radharani is reflected in Chitra Sakhi. Whatever the qualities or whatever moods are there of Radharani, that gets embodied in these maid servants. Similarly, one of the quality that Radharani possesses is to be very fragrant. Radharani is very fragrant. Our acharyas describe wherever Radharani is, Krishna can very easily spot Srimati Radharani because she's so fragrant that her fragrance goes from one forest of Vrindavan to another forest of Vrindavan. As we remember in our previous discussions, we have made this point. When Krishna plays hide and seek, immediately Krishna is caught. Why? Because Krishna's face is like a black lotus. And wherever there is a black lotus, the bumblebees are always hovering on Krishna's head. And Krishna very easily gets caught. Similarly, Srimati Radharani, her bodily fragrance is so much that wherever she is, Krishna is able to find out where Radhika is. So these qualities, these moods that Srimati Radharani has gets reflected in different gopis. Similarly, Gopal Bhatta Goswami is a Manjari by the name Guna Manjari. Guna means qualities. The qualities of Radharani, when they condense into one person, that is Guna Manjari or Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Very prominent personality. Radhika has so many qualities. All these qualities condensing to form one person is Guna Manjari. So that Guna Manjari or Gopal Bhatta Goswami now took the instructions of Gauranga Mahaprabhu and was living in the land of Braj. And as we know, Gopal Bhatta Goswami had Dwadasha Gopal. He had 12 prominent shaligrams that he would worship. The shaligrams that are found in Kali Gantaki in Nepal. So he would worship. And as the story unfolds, we find that a very rich merchant came to Gopal Bhatta Goswami and offered dress. That, oh dear Gopal Bhatta Goswami, you can offer this dress to your Ishtadev. You can offer this dress to your worshipable Lord. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami saw this. He felt very disappointed. Why? Because the dress that was given was meant for Tribhanga Lalit Shyamsundar. Our Krishna speaks crooked, looks crooked, stands crooked, everything is crooked. Tribhanga Deha Sundaram Nakhadyuti Sudakaram Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanandanam. He looks crooked, he speaks crooked, everything is crooked. He stands also crooked. He has 3 bends. Why 3 bends? Krishna has 3 bends, we find. Even our Neela Madhav. Vrindavan Krishna is having 3 bends. Why 3 bends? Because Krishna is not able to bear the weight of love of the Brajavasis. The Brajavasis have surrendered to Krishna through body, mind, and word. And body, mind, and word corresponds to 3 bends in Krishna's body. We find in this world, people go to the Lord, people go to the Supreme Lord and ask for a BMW. Bhagavan ye chahiye, Bhagavan wo chahiye. People go and ask for a BMW. But the Brajavasis, they don't ask BMW for the Lord. They go and give the Lord BMW. They give body, mind, and words to the Supreme Lord. The devout people of this world ask BMW. Brajavasis give BMW to the Supreme Lord. And even the Lord is perplexed. What love is this? Everyone comes and asks me for BMW. They are giving their BMW to me. So that's a nice meditation. Those next time whenever we see a BMW, I think from what I remember, Chaitanya Sundar Prabhu has a BMW. Not that I'm saying that you should give your BMW to Krishna, but it can be a good meditation that next time whenever we see BMW, we can remember that the Brajavasis give the BMW, body, mind, and words to the Supreme Lord. And that is the aspiration that we should also have. So now Gopal Bhatta Goswami, he was disappointed. We see whatever pain is there in the heart gets reflected in the eyes. If the heart is distressed, it gets reflected in the eyes in the form of tears. It's not that the eyes are producing tears, it's because of the pain in the heart that gets reflected as tears in the eyes. If the heart is happy, then there are tears of joy. If the heart is sad, then there are tears of distress. Gopal Bhatta Goswami had tears of distress. The pain in his heart that he is not able to offer the dress that was given to his Lord. Because how can you offer a dress to Shaligram? We see Shaligrams are gol matol, they are round. Some Shaligrams are so round, if you keep, they will just keep moving like marbles. They keep moving from one place to another, very restless. Just as a side point, there is one Shaligram called as Gopal Shaligram, and Gopal Shaligrams are small and they're round in shape, complete round, and they're small. So much so that if you keep Gopal Shaligram at one place, it will just keep moving. It will never stay steady. It will keep moving. And the Acharyas comment, it is moving because the Gopal Shaligram has the quality of Gopal. Just like Gopal is very restless and he cannot stay at one place, Gopal Shaligram is also like that, keeps moving. Maybe the next time my brother comes here, we can see Amarendra Prabhu has a Gopal Shaligram, small. And if you don't cover it from all sides, it will just keep rolling. Just like Krishna, very restless. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami was not able to offer this dress, and the pain in his heart reflected in the tears in his eyes, and he started bathing his Shaligrams with his tears. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says there are 4 things by which the Lord is pleased. Patram, Pushpam, Phalam, Toyam, Yome Bhaktya Prayachate, Tadaham Bhakti Uparitam Asnami Prayatatmanaha. 9:26 Gita. Krishna says, if you give me 4 things with devotion, I will accept. Patram, leaf. Pushpam, flower. Phalam, that is fruit. And Toyam, which means water. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, to give water to the Lord is first class. Even better is to give the Toyam of our tears. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, when we give that form of Toyam, tears, Krishna sells himself. And here was Gopal Bhatta Goswami giving the best form of Toyam. He was crying to his Gopal. And we find eventually that Damodar Shaligram that Gopal Bhatta Goswami had got transformed to Radharaman Lal. He got transformed to Radharaman Sarkar. Shri Radharaman Lal ki jai. He got transformed to Radharaman Lal. So externally, it's the Shaligram that got transformed. But internally, it was Gopal Bhatta Goswami who pulled Radharaman from his heart. The Radharaman that was there in his heart, he pulled it out in the form of the deity. Externally, the Shaligram got manifested, but it was his heart that manifested the form of Radharaman. Now, there is a very important question that comes here. We say Radharaman. Here we say Radha Neelamadhav. Neelamadhav is there. Radharani can also be seen. We say Radha Shamsundar. Shamsundar can be seen. Radharani can be seen. We say Radha Raman. Raman can be seen. Where is Radharani? We do not find Radharani. So where is Srimati Radharani? Srimati Radharani is there in the heart of Sri Krishna. Externally, we find Raman, but Radhika is there in the heart. It's so interesting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Antar Krishna, Bahir Gaura. Who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Inside is Krishna, outside he is Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Outside is a combination of Radha and Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Antar Krishna, Bahir Gaura. But Radharaman is exact opposite. Radharaman is Antar Gaura because inside is a combination of Radha and Krishna, but Bahir Krishna. Externally he looks like Krishna. Exact opposite. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Antar Krishna, Bahir Gaura. Radharaman Lal, Antar Gaura, Bahir Krishna. Inside is a combination of Radharani and Krishna. Outside he looks like Krishna, standing in Tribhang Lalit form. So we find that generally, whatever is there in our heart, we don't reveal it to the whole world. We just reveal it probably to our family or very close, near and dear ones. But we don't reveal everything that is there in our heart with everyone. But look at the magnanimity of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Whatever was there in his heart, he not just pulled it out, but he gave that to the whole world. Let the whole world see the form of Radharaman Lal. He gave the most cherished object of his heart as darshan to the whole world. And our Radharaman is so sweet. Generally, you find Krishna, when he's standing, Krishna is smiling. Whether Neela Madhav or Sham Sundar of Vrindavan, Krishna has a half smile. It's not even a full smile, it's a half smile. Krishna very charismatically, he gives a half smile. But our Chotu Radharaman Lal is so sweet. He smiles, and if you see, when we go to Braj with the binoculars, if you see, he not just smiles, but when he smiles, there are two teeth visible ahead. We can see photographs. Radharaman is so sweet. When he smiles, two small baby milk teeth are visible. Very sweet form of the Lord. So Gopal Bhatta Goswami took that from his heart. So very interestingly, we find Gopal Bhatta Goswami's heartfelt tears manifested in Raman, in whose heart Radhika was present. There is so much heart involved. Gopal Bhatta Goswami's heart, Krishna's heart, in Krishna's heart Radharani. And because there is so much heart involved, dear devotees, the Brajavasis consider Radharaman as the heartbeat of Vrindavan. The body may be perfectly fine. If there is no heart, there is no purpose for the body. Similarly, Radharaman, there are so many deities, but Radharaman is like that. He is the heartbeat. He is such an heartbeat that he has never left Vrindavan. All the deities have left Braj. Only today we were saying that how in our group, His Grace Radhapati Prabhu had put beautiful photographs from Jaipur. All the deities left. There was only one deity who did not leave. That is our Radharaman Sarkar. Because he is so small. He's only this much. Very small in size. So small that even when the Mughals came, they could not find Radharaman. Why? Because Radharaman is so small. He can be hid even under a pillow. He is so small, unlike other deities. So he is the only deity to have never left Vrindavan Dham. And Gopal Bhatta Goswami is instrumental in giving Radharaman to the whole world. Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami ki jai, Shri Radharaman Sarkar ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Don't worry, the class is not done. The class is just about to start. This was just the introduction on Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So we find in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadev Goswami, very beautifully, he quotes a verse. Shukadev Goswami says, Nimnaganam yatha Ganga, Devanam achyuto yatha, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu, Purananam idam tatha. What does Shukadev Goswami say? He says, Nimnaganam yatha Ganga, just like when it comes to all the water bodies, Gangaji is the topmost. And in fact, Prabhupada elaborates on that by saying, when Gangaji is purified 100 times, it becomes Yamuna. So Yamuna is even glorious than Ganga, Prabhupada describes. But here, according to this verse, we find Nimna Ganam Yatha Ganga, just like all the water bodies, Gangaji is the topmost. Devanam Achyuto Yatha, our Achyuta, Sri Krishna is the topmost. Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, of all the Vaishnavas, Shambhu, Mahadev, Gopeshwar Mahadev, Aseshwar Mahadev, Icheshwar Mahadev, Vankhandeshwar Mahadev, Kameshwar Mahadev, Bhuteshwar Mahadev. Our Mahadev is the topmost. These are all different Mahadevs that we find in the land of Braj. Mahadev is the Dwarpal. Just like in Vaikunta, we have Jai and Vijay. Similarly, in the land of Braj, we don't have Jai and Vijay. Jai and Vijay are Aishwarya Bhav. In Braj, only sweet Madhurya flows. So in Braj, we have Gopeshwar Mahadev. We have Mahadev who is protecting as Dwarpal in every nook and corner of the land of Braj. So Nimnaganam Yatha Ganga, Devanam Achyuto Yatha, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, Purananam Idam Tatha. And of all the Puranas, this Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost. There is no scripture equal to Srimad Bhagavatam, leave alone being superior to Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is so high class, has been very mercifully given to all of us by Srila Prabhupada. So kind of Srila Prabhupada to have sat from 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. and translated all this for all of us. One time, His Holiness Brahmananda Swami, perhaps we would have heard. One time, Brahmananda Swami, of course, not there, Prabhupada disciple, who helped Prabhupada a lot in the initial days. We find so many of Prabhupada's classes are there online. That first recorder was bought for Prabhupada by Brahmananda Prabhu at that time. So he had gifted. At that time, it was $100. We are talking about 1960s. They spent $100 to get a recorder for Prabhupada, and that's how all the classes got recorded. So that effort is by Brahmananda Prabhu. So later, when Prabhupada gave him sannyas, he became Brahmananda Swami. And Brahmananda Swami was huge. He was huge and hefty. So once he was walking in Jagannath Puri, and from the other end, one Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi was coming. Not from ISKCON, but a Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi was coming. So he looked at Brahmananda Swami and he was perplexed. White-bodied sannyasi, Tridanda sannyas, white-skinned in Jagannath Puri. Who is he and what is he doing here? It's like fish out of the water, because at that time, no one had seen a white-skinned devotee. Leave alone a white-skinned sannyasi with a danda, with clean shaven and nice shika. Bhul jao, itna koi dekha hi nahi tha. So this Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi was perplexed, and he stopped Brahmananda Swami and said, "Who are you?" So Brahmananda Swami said, "Oh, my name is Brahmananda Swami, and I am the disciple of Srila Prabhupada." So this Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi said, "Prabhupada? Who is Prabhupada? I have not heard any Prabhupada." Brahmananda Swami said, "You have not heard Prabhupada? Prabhupada has preached so much. You have not heard Prabhupada?" He said, "No, I have not heard Srila Prabhupada. Who is Prabhupada?" And then Brahmananda Swami started explaining, "Oh, Prabhupada did this, Prabhupada did that." And the Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi said, "Wait a minute, stop. I'm not able to connect. I'm not able to resonate with what you're saying. I don't know who Srila Prabhupada is." So at that time, fortunately, Brahmananda Swami had a Krishna book in his hand. And we see in Krishna book, or most of Prabhupada's books, when we turn to the last page, there is Prabhupada's photo with a small description of what Prabhupada has done. So Brahmananda Swami turned the book and showed, "Oh, he's Prabhupada. He is my spiritual master, Swami Srila Prabhupada." This Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi looked. He was old, so he just adjusted his spectacles and he looked. And he said, "Oh, you're talking about Abhay Babu. You're talking about Abhay Babu." And he said, "Oh, yes, Abhay Babu. We call him Srila Prabhupada." And this Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi said, "I have something to tell you. I want to tell you something that you would have not heard, and your Guru Maharaj out of humility will also not say. But I want to share something." So Brahmananda Swami said, "What is it?" This Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi took them back to about 30 years when our Prabhupada was a Grahastha. Abhay Babu, Abhay Charana Ravinda, when he was a Grahastha, having his business. So at that time, Srila Prabhupada, or Abhay Babu, because he would have his business, Prabhupada would come home very late, and at night he would chant many of his rounds. Please do not take inspiration. Please do not say that Prabhupada chanted his rounds at night. We can also chant. Prabhupada is Prabhupada. We are what we are. So Prabhupada, because he had his business also, sometimes Prabhupada would come and chant his rounds at night. Of course, they may be extra rounds. So Prabhupada had a 2-floor house that he was living in. So many times he would sit on the steps and he would chant night. And in the upper floor, Prabhupada had given it to some of his god brothers. And they would have Bhagavatam class and Chaitanya Charitamrita class. And Prabhupada, because his rounds were pending, Prabhupada invariably would not have time to sit in that class. So one time, Prabhupada was sitting on the steps. And one speaker, he gave a class. And the class was on Pritivite Ache Jadi Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Hoi Muranam. The famous prediction of Gauranga Mahaprabhu that my holy name will spread in every town and village. So they discussed this class and they thought to themselves, Saraswati Thakur has left this world. And Saraswati Thakur has preached. His Gaudiya Math has been established in India. Maybe when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying Sarvatra Prachar Hoibe Muranam, maybe it is just India. Maybe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just referring to India and Saraswati Thakur has already preached in India. So this verse is complete. and they were giving their own purports and own commentaries. And when they were coming down, our Abhay Babu was sitting on the steps and chanting. So this speaker, he turned towards our Abhay Babu and said, Abhay Babu, we were discussing this verse and we came to this conclusion that Saraswati Thakur has done the preaching in India. So no one is going to go out and preach. Who is qualified? Like Saraswati Thakur has left, who is qualified? When our Abhay Babu heard it, he looked back and said, someone in the history will do it. Who it is, we don't know, but someone in the history will do it. And then Prabhupada walked a few steps down and he again turned. By this time, the speaker thought to himself, maybe I am that chosen person. I am giving so many classes. Maybe I am the chosen person. Maybe Abhay Babu is pointing to me. And Prabhupada could understand that. Prabhupada again paused. He looked back and said, it will for sure not be you. It will be someone from our history, but it is not going to be you. Why? Because you don't have faith in the Shastra. You are doubting the words of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying Prithvi, it means Prithvi. Mahaprabhu knows the difference between Prithvi and India. We don't have to teach Mahaprabhu. If Mahaprabhu is saying Prithvi te ache jadi nagaradigram, it means Prithvi. It will spread everywhere. And our Abhay Babu said, who is going to do that? We don't know. It's not going to be you. Now this Gaudiya Vaishnava Sannyasi who was there in that scene was narrating this to Brahmananda Swami. And he told Brahmananda Swami, we could have never imagined. Abhay Babu, who was there with us, who had a business, sometimes the business failed, who was in a grahastha, it's still, we are not able to sink in. It's still, we are not able to digest the fact that your Abhay Babu or our Abhay Babu and your Prabhupada was that chosen Senapati Bhakta of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We still cannot digest it. He was there in front of us. No one could have ever thought that he is that chosen person. Which gives a teaching to all of us. That sometimes when devotees are there around us, we take them for granted. But we don't know when this granite-like devotee is going to explode. When time comes, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to empower, that devotee can explode in such a way that he can inundate the whole world with Krishna Bhakti. It's only a matter of time. And Prabhupada was the best example. So, interesting point that Prabhupada gives through this pastime is those who don't have faith in the scriptures can never be empowered. Only if someone has faith in the Shastra will someone get empowerment. But if there is no faith, no Shraddha, there can never be empowerment. Prabhupada had full faith in the Shastra. And that is why he was chosen as the Senapati Bhakta. Similarly, dear devotees, this 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam gets revealed in our heart only with Shraddha, only with faith. Faith is that key that opens the land of Vrindavan Dham, nothing else. It's not our dollars by which we can go to Braj. It's not by the airline or by any of the vehicles, any of the transport facilities. It is nothing by material means that we can go to Braj. The only way someone can get entrance to this land of Vrindavan Dham is by faith, is by Shraddha. Faith in the scripture, faith in the land of Srimati Radharani. This 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, dear devotees, is considered the heart of Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like we find in a human body, the most important is the heart. If the heart stops beating, Gaura Premanand, the person is gone. Till the time the heart is pumping, the person is there intact. But even in that heart, there are something called as Pancha Pran. There are 5 life airs according to Ayurveda. Similarly, the Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna's body. We have discussed this before as to how every canto maps to particular limb of Krishna's body. The 10th canto is the heart of Sri Krishna. The heart that is beating. And in that heart, as we said, there are 5 life airs. This 10th canto has 5 life airs called as Pancha Pran. And the first Pran of the 10th canto is called as Venugit, the song of Krishna's flute. Srimad Bhagavatam of the 10th canto has Pancha Pran, Venugit, Gopi Geet, Pranay Geet, Brahmar Geet, and Yugal Geet. I repeat, Venu Geet, Gopi Geet, we have Pranay Geet, Brahmar Geet, and Yugal Geet. These are the 5 life airs of Srimad Bhagavatam, the most important. Srimad Bhagavatam has 335 chapters. From the 335 chapters, if we have to pick 5 most important chapters, they are these 5 chapters. Just like from the 64 limbs of bhakti, it has been brought down to the 5 limbs of bhakti, most important. Similarly, from the 335 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 5 most important are these 5 life airs of Srimad Bhagavatam, which are there in the heart, that is the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And just like Srimad Bhagavatam has 5 life airs, Pancha Pran, Chaitanya Charitamrita also has 5 life airs. If Krishna has 5 life airs, our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also has 5 life airs. So Chaitanya Charitamrita also has 5 life airs. First, Roop Siksha, teachings to Srila Rupa Goswami. Second, Sanatan Shiksha, teachings to Sripad Sanatan Goswami. Third, Rai Ramananda Samvad, conversation with Ramananda Rai. Fourth, the Rath Yatra Prasang, the Rath Yatra episode. And fifth, the Sikshashtakam prayers. These are the 5 life airs of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Roop Siksha, Sanatan Siksha, Rai Ramananda Samvad. We have fourth, the Rath Yatra Prasang, the Rath Yatra episode where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in ecstasy for hours and hours and hours together. And fifth, the Sikshashtakam prayers. The Sikshashtakam prayers that we chant in the temple every day is one of the life airs of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this is why Prabhupada, very masterful, very skilled, Prabhupada keeps that in the morning routine of chanting. So one of the life airs of the Srimad Bhagavatam is called as the Venu Geet. Of course, because it's an overview, we do not have time to go into depth of every verse. There are 20 verses of the Venu Geet. And if we start going into depth of every verse, then rather than being an overview of Srimad Bhagavatam, it will end up as a Venu Geet session. So I will keep that for my brother, whatever he has done. I do not want to take a piece of cake from what he has given. So if someone wants to go in depth, he has spoke 60 classes recently on the 20 verses of Venu Geet. But in our discussion, we are just going to skim the surface. The Supreme Lord, when he is there in the land of Braj, he has 4 qualities. As previously mentioned, he has 4 qualities that even Vishnu does not have. 4 qualities that even Shiva does not have. 4 qualities that even Brahmaji does not have. What are those 4 qualities? First, Krishna's Leela Madhuri. Second, Prema Madhuri. Third, Rupa Madhuri. And fourth and most important, Venu Madhuri. The ability of Krishna playing sweet melodies on his flute and enchanting everyone. This flute, dear devotees, that Krishna plays are of 3 types. There are 3 types of flute that Krishna plays. Krishna is an expert flute player, so he doesn't just stick to one flute. Krishna has, sometimes he will play one flute, sometimes another flute, sometimes another flute. Very demanding flute player. So Krishna has 3 types of flute. The first type of flute that Krishna plays is Venu. The second type of flute that Krishna plays is called as Vamshi. And the third type of flute that Krishna plays is called as Murli. So we have Venu, Vamshi, and Murli. The third one is I think very easy to remember. Murli is there here in our sessions. So third is very easy to remember. But the remaining 2 are Venu, Vamshi, and then the third is Murli. Now, what are the qualities? What are the characteristics of these flute? Venu, we say Venu Geet. Primarily, we find Venu Geet is the narration of the Braja Gopis. All the Braja Gopis came together when Krishna entered the forest with all his friends and cows. The Braja Gopis came together. And the Braja Gopis came together and started singing the glories of Krishna's flute, as to how fortunate Krishna's flute is. The nectar of Krishna's lips, which is our property, the flute has taken that. So these flute that Krishna plays, as we discussed, are of 3 types: Venu, Vamshi, and Murli. Now, what are the qualities of Venu? The Venu flute that Krishna plays is not more than 6 inches long. It's not more than 6 inches long, and it has 6 holes in the body, like a traditional bamboo flute that we find in India. Not the American type of flutes. We find American flutes are comparatively bigger. The traditional Indian flutes that we find. So Venu is 6 inches long and it has 6 holes in it. Second, what is the second? Vamshi. So the Vamshi flute that Krishna plays is about 15 inches long. Very big flute. 15 inches. Probably we may not even get these kinds of flute here in this world, but Krishna plays them. So Vamshi is 15 inches long and Vamshi has 9 holes in its body. So Venu, not more than 6 inches and has 6 holes in the body. Vamshi is 15 inches long and has 9 holes in the body. And third is Murli. Third is Murli. Murli, the third type of flute, is 18 inches long. The size is just increasing, dear devotees. From 6, it went to 15, and now we are at 18. Just imagine 18 inches flute Krishna is playing. The third is Murli, 18 inches flute. And this flute, which is 18 inches long, has 1 hole in the end and 4 holes in the body. So I hope that is clear. 1 hole at the end and 4 holes in the body. So 3 types of flute: Venu, Vamshi, and Murli. Venu, not more than 6 inches long, and it has 6 holes in the body. Second is Vamshi, 15 inches long, and it has 9 holes in the body. Third is Murli, 18 inches long, 1 hole to the end and 4 holes in the body. Look at the depth what our acharyas have given. Who says Krishna doesn't exist? Who says God doesn't exist? Look at the depth that Shukadev Goswami and Prabhupada are giving this world. We are not just saying Krishna plays the flute, but if asked, we can even give the types of flute and how many holes it has and how many inches long they are. These are our acharyas. They not just give details, but they just go into complete depth so that there is no ambiguity in the mind as to whether Krishna plays the flute or not. So 3 kinds of flute. Now, what is the second kind of flute? Vamshi. Now this Vamshi has 3 subcategories also. The Vamshi, the flute are already of 3 types, but now the second type of flute, that is Vamshi, is further having 3 more types. When this Vamshi, which is already 15 inches long, when it is even more longer, little more longer, it is called as Sammohini. What is it called? It's called as Sammohini. When the Vamshi, which is already 15 inches long, is little more longer, it is called Sammohini. When it is even more longer, it is called Akarshini. And finally, when it is the highest, the most biggest, it is called as Anandini. So these are 3 subcategories of Vamshi flute. To reiterate, we have 3 types of flute: Venu, Vamshi, and Murli. Inside Vamshi, there are 3 subcategories. When the flute is little more than 15 inches, it is called as Sammohini. And what is the characteristic of Sammohini? It is bedecked with jewels. When it is little more than 15 and bedecked with jewels, it is called as Sammohini. The second subcategory is called as Akarshini. When it is little more longer than Sammohini, it is called as Akarshini. And what is the specialty of Akarshini? It is made of pure gold, not gold plating, not like the gold plating that we find in this world, pure gold. In the spiritual world, there is no coating. There is no sugar coating. Everyone is clear and straightforward. So second is made of gold and it is called as Akarshini. And the third and the last one is called as Anandini. It is little more longer than Akarshini. So Sammohini, Akarshini, Anandini. And when Krishna has to call out to his friends, to his cowherd friends, Krishna uses Anandini, not any other flute. Look at the clarity of Shukadeva Goswami. He's not just saying Krishna plays flute. He is giving Krishna is playing flute, what type of flute, how many inches long, and what are the number of holes. So when Krishna has to call out to his friends, Subha, Madhumangal, Stoka Krishna. Krishna doesn't use any kind of flute. He uses Anandini, the biggest of all the flutes. Very professional. Krishna is a very professional flute player. And now our acharyas don't stop here. Our acharyas very beautifully describe when Krishna plays his flute, Brahma and Shiva, when they're doing meditation, their meditation breaks. It's very difficult to break their meditation, but when Krishna plays his flute, gone. Their meditation is broken. They are stunned. Who is playing this flute? Where is this sweet melody coming from? That is Krishna's first note. When Krishna plays the first note, Sa, just Sa. When Krishna plays Sa, Shiva and Brahma, their meditation is gone. When we can see, when we play Sa in the harmonium, we know how it is. When Krishna is doing his Sa, Brahmaji and Shiva lose their meditation. When Krishna does Re, when Krishna takes the second note, Yamuna flows backwards. We are talking about Yamuna. We are not talking about a bucket of water, dear devotees. We are talking about Yamuna. When Krishna plays the second note, Re, Yamuna starts flowing backward. When Krishna plays the third note, Sa, Re, Ga, the moon stops moving. The third note of Krishna, moon stops moving. When Krishna plays the fourth note, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, the fourth note. When Krishna plays his fourth note, the cows are stunned. The calves are stunned. The calves who were drinking milk from their udder, they're so stunned that milk starts flowing from their mouth. They are like painted pictures, not able to move. This is Krishna's fourth note. Krishna now plays the fifth note. When Krishna plays the fifth note, it is meant for the Braja Gopis. The Braja Gopis leave everything and run towards Krishna. This is Krishna's fifth note. When Krishna plays the sixth note, the stones melt. The stone melts and becomes water. The water melts and again comes back to stone. Snow becomes fire. Fire becomes snow. All the unseen situations are seen. So the honi ko unhoni kar de, unhoni ko honi. This is not Amar Akbar Anthony. This is Krishna's flute. Krishna does this. He makes the possible into impossible and impossible into impossible. Probably for the kids, they may not be aware of what I just mentioned, but the adults could relate to it. This is Krishna's flute. And Rupa Goswami says this honi ko unhoni and unhoni ko honi in Shastra is called as aghatana ghatana pratiyasi shakti. Everything is coming from Shastra. There is no doubt about this. Everything is coming from Shastra. Aghatana ghatana pratiyasi shakti. The ability of Krishna to make impossible to possible and possible to impossible. The origin for everything is Krishna. So the sixth note, the stone melts, becomes water, water comes back to stone, the snow becomes fire, fire becomes snow. At the same time, in the sixth note, Krishna can invoke the autumn season, the Sharat Rutu. We find Kartik, the first day of Kartik is Sharat Purnima. That is done by Krishna's sixth note. The seventh note that our Sri Krishna plays, our Acharya is very beautifully described. When Krishna plays his seventh note, so many transformations happen. All the seasons come together at one go. There is rain, there is snow, there is heat, everything in one go. Krishna can get everything together in one go by just one note of his flute, the seventh note. This is Krishna's power of playing flute. And now Krishna has one special note called as the eighth note. This eighth note is exclusively for Srimati Radharani. When Krishna has to call Srimati Radharani, it's not first note, second note, third note, fourth note. It's the eighth note. We see in this world also, if I have to call someone, if suppose I have to call Nitin Prabhu, so there is some pattern of numbers that I will use by which it will call only Nitin Prabhu and no one else. It will not even call his son. It will just call Nitin Prabhu. Similarly, when Krishna plays the flute, the first note just calls one person. The second note just calls another person. The third note just calls another person. And the eighth note calls Srimati Radharani. So the next time you pick up the phone to type something, to call someone, let us remember that this is how Krishna, when he plays the flute, it calls the specific person and not anyone else. When Krishna plays the eighth note, only Radharani is invited. And Radharani runs towards Krishna. She wears the upper cloth down, the below cloth up. She forgets to wear the mascara. Mascara is there on one eye. There's no mascara on the other eye. So much enchanted by the eighth note of Sri Krishna. Radhika runs. So 8 notes that Krishna plays. Very special. Actually, we have not even started our discussion. This is just the introduction of Venu Gita that is going on. So 3 kinds of flute: Venu, Vamshi, Murli. 3 subcategories of Vamshi: Sammohini, Akarshini, Anandini. Anandini is meant for the friends of Krishna. The 8th note is meant for Srimati Radharani. The 5th note is meant for the Braja Gopis. Crystal clear. So Krishna in Braj, he plays this very beautiful kind of flutes. And we find it's the characteristic of Krishna to play flute. Mathura Krishna doesn't play flute. Dwaraka Krishna doesn't play flute. Avanti Krishna doesn't play flute. Kurukshetra Krishna definitely doesn't play flute. It's only our Vrindavan Krishna who plays flute. Gopavesh, Venukar, Navakishore, Natavar. Vrindavan Krishna has 4 attributes. Gopavesh, he is in the form of a Gopa. Form is that of a Gopa, and there is also Gopa Avesh. The mood is like that of a Gopa. Gopavesh and Gopa Avesh. The form is like a Gopa, the mood is like a Gopa. Gopavesh, Venukar, he plays the Venu. This is Vrindavan Krishna's quality. If we are worshipping Krishna who doesn't have a flute, then it's not Vrindavan Krishna, it is some other Krishna. And we don't want some other Krishna, we want Vrindavan Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kajitupasanam Brajavadhum Varghenaya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatra Dharana Para. We worship Vrindavan Krishna, and Vrindavan Krishna always has the flute. So this is Krishna's attribute of playing the flute in Braj. Gopavesh, Venukar, Navakishore. He is always youthful. Krishna doesn't have white beard. Krishna doesn't have white hair towards the ear. We see whenever someone turns gray, not that I have turned, but whenever someone turns gray, they start turning gray towards their ear. They always start turning gray towards their ear. It's almost like the hair whispering in the ear. We see in Hindi, after pachas, what do we say? Ikyavan. It's like the hair whispering in the ear. Ikyavan. You're crossed 50. Go to the one. Go to the forest. Leave your family. Go to the one. So we can check whether we have white hair or not. But we see the white hair is always near the ear. And after 50, Ikyavan, Bhavan. Even the numbers are saying after 50, go to 1. Which one? Prabhupada says Vrindavan. So everything actually we can relate to Krishna consciousness. We should have just the right mood and the right inclination. So Vrindavan Krishna, Gopavesh, Venukar, Navakishore. No wrinkles, no facelift, no fair and lovely, high handsome, nothing for Krishna. Krishna is always youthful. And Natavar, best among dancers, no comparison. When Krishna dances, the Gandharvas stop. It is concert time for the Gandharvas. The Gandharvas start taking notes when Krishna dances because the Gandharvas have not seen such dance. They have not seen such pose. They have not seen such dance steps. Shiva, who's Mahadev, he stops, he starts taking notes. Shiva thinks, I dance, but the dance steps that Krishna is doing in Vrindavan, my God, even I have not seen. So it's notes time for them. So Vrindavan Krishna, Gopavesh, Venukar, Navakishore Natavar. And we see this in Rai Ramananda Samvad also. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was speaking with Ramananda Rai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started switching forms. He was first as a sannyasi, then he would switch back to Vrindavan Krishna, then again switch back to sannyasi, and then again switch back to Vrindavan Krishna. And Ramananda Rai was seeing this. And Ramananda Rai says, Pahila dekhila tumar sannyasi swarup, ebe mui dekhi shama gopa roop. My dear Lord, first I saw you as sannyasi, now I am seeing you as a gopa of Vrindavan with Tribhang Lalit and with a flute. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't accept. He says, oh no, Ramananda Rai, you are so glorious. You are seeing Krishna everywhere. Mahaprabhu doesn't take the credit but gives it to Ramananda Rai. But in reality, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was switching forms. He was first sannyasi, then gopa. So Krishna Vrindavan has this attribute of playing his flute. And we find the flute, there are multiple lessons that we can learn from the flute. The first lesson that we can learn from the flute comes from the ground, bamboo, which means wood, it comes from the ground, which means the flute is dharashrit. Dhara means Mother Earth and ashrit means taken shelter. So the flute has taken shelter from the ground. It is coming from the ground. It is dharashrit. But now when Krishna is holding the flute to his fingers, when he's holding the flute to his palm, it is a dharashrit. It's no more there in the ground, but it is off the ground. So it is a dharashrit. I repeat, the flute comes from the ground. It's called as dharashrit. Dhara means Mother Earth. So it has taken shelter of the ground. But now the flute is elevated. It has become a dharashrit. Because Krishna is holding the flute in his palm. And why has the flute become a dharashrit? Because it has taken adhar ashrit. Adhar means lips. The flute has taken the lips of the shelter of the lips of Shri Krishna, because of which the flute has got elevated. It came from the ground dharashrit. It got elevated to a dharashrit. Why? Because it has taken adhar ashrit. It has taken shelter of Krishna's lips. Similarly, we are also dharashrit. We are also coming from Mother Earth. Bhumirapa anala vayu kham mano buddhire vacha ahamkara ite yamme bhinna prakriti rashtada 7:4 Gita. We are also coming from Mother Earth. Bhumir, Apa, Anala, Vayu, Kham, 5 material elements. So we are also dharashrit. But if we want to become a dharashrit, which means we want to get elevated, then we have to also be adhar ashrit. We have to also take shelter of Krishna's lips. What comes from Krishna's lips? Bhagavad Gita. When we take shelter of what comes from Krishna's lips, Bhagavad Gita, then we who are dharashrit can become a dharashrit. Just like the flute who is dharashrit became a dharashrit by taking shelter of Krishna's adhar ashrit. So it's just play of words that Shripad Harisuri gives. So I hope that is clear. Dharashrit becomes a dharashrit by adhar ashrit. Similarly, we are dharashrit. We can become adhar ashrit, a dharashrit. That is, we can get elevated by adhar ashrit, by taking shelter of Krishna's lips, which means what comes from Krishna's lips, that is Bhagavad Gita. By taking shelter of Bhagavad Gita, we can also get elevated like the flute. The second lesson that we learn from the flute is straight. The flute is always straight. And the second quality the flute has is what is in is what is out. Air in, air out. Two qualities. It is straight, and what is in is what is out, which means the flute is straightforward and it is non-duplicitous. What is in is what is out. Similarly, if we are straight like the flute, which means straightforward, and we are non-duplicitous, which means what is in is what is out, then Krishna with his fingers, just like when Krishna plays the flute, Krishna places the fingers on the holes and seals the holes. All the 6 holes get completely filled when Krishna is playing. Why? Because the flute is straight and what is in is what is out. Similarly, when we are straightforward and we are non-duplicitous, then Krishna will fill the 6 holes of our life. Kama, Krodha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya, and lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, etc. The 6 holes here correspond to the 6 anarthas. And just like Krishna seals them for the flute, Krishna will seal them for us also. If we are straight, like the flute that is straightforward, and what is in is what is out, non-duplicitous. Mukunda will seal. Mukunda seal. In India, we have M seal. That is Mukunda seal. Mukunda will make sure he seals all the holes for all of us. All the holes get completely filled. Mukunda seal. So Krishna plays this flute in such a sweet fashion. The two lessons that we learn from the flute. One is the point of Dharashrit, Adharashrit, and Adharashrit. And the second, the flute is straightforward, and it is what is in is what is out, which means it is non-duplicitous. If we are straightforward and non-duplicitous, Krishna through his fingers, the dancing fingers, the fingers of Krishna dances on the flute. Everything about Krishna is dancing. His feet are dancing, his hands are dancing, his fingers are also dancing. The Lord whom we worship is a very dramatic Lord. Krishna is a performer. Krishna is a full-fledged performer. Even during Kaliya pastime we discussed. Till the time everyone didn't come, Krishna didn't dance. He was waiting. Krishna wants a full house. The auditorium has to be full. Full-on performer. Once everyone came, Krishna starts dancing in his very charismatic way. Similarly, his fingers are also dancing on the holes of the flute. So Krishna is very kind. Those who are very straightforward and simple, Krishna reciprocates to them. Once in Mayapur Chandrodaya Mandir, Pankajangri Prabhu went to the altar of Shri Shri Radha Madhav. And Pankajangri Prabhu, when he went inside the altar, he saw that the main Shaligram, which is called as the Pradhan Shila, the main Shaligram is called as always Pradhan Shila. The main Shaligram, the Pradhan Shila, was missing. Radha Madhav's Pradhan Shila is missing. So Pankajangri Prabhu started looking here and there, and he was not able to find. And Pankajangri Prabhu thought probably the Shaligram is round, so it just rolled its way into some drawer. So he started opening all the drawers, and Shaligram was not to be found anywhere. And Pankajangri Prabhu was searching. This is Radha Madhav's Shaligram. So he started searching, and he couldn't find it. So Pankajangri Prabhu sat in seclusion and closed his eyes, praying to the Lord that, my dear Lord, give some indication. And these were the summer times of Mayapur, very hot. Just like Vrindavan gets very hot, even Mayapur gets very hot during summer. It was summertime, and Pankajangri Prabhu in his meditation, Pankajangri Prabhu thought to himself, the Shaligrams come from Kaligantaki river, where it is always cold. Kaligantaki is Nepal. Shaligrams come from there, which is a very cold place, which means the Shaligram like a cold place. And now it's very hot. So Pankajangri Prabhu thought to himself, there is no cold place in the temple. It's everywhere is hot. The temple room is hot. Outside it is hot. Where can the Shaligram possibly go? And then through Paramatma's guidance, Pankajangri Prabhu went to the kitchen. Please hear this, dear devotees. This is a real story. Pankajangri Prabhu himself said. He went to the kitchen. In the kitchen, he opened the freezer. Now he opened the freezer. Shaligram not to be seen. In the freezer was a mango ice cream. Our Shaligram was hiding in the mango ice cream to cool himself off. This is a real-time story, Pankajangri Prabhu said. The Shaligram from the main altar was not to be seen. He went all by himself and went to the fridge, went to the freezer. Inside the freezer was sitting in a mango ice cream, very charismatically. Why? The Lord wants to cool himself. As I said, the Lord whom we worship is very reciprocative, very mischievous, and a very interesting God whom we worship. He goes and sits in a mango ice cream. And this is not something that a devotee will do. Imagine taking our deities and putting the deities in freezer. None of us would have that adhikar, unless and until we are very, very, very exalted. But generally, no one would have that adhikar, leave alone taking the main Shaligram of Radha Madhav. He was nicely sitting in mango ice cream. And Pankajangri Prabhu, when he was narrating this, he was laughing and saying, it's very interesting how the Lord reciprocates. If someone is simple and straightforward like the flute, Krishna will reciprocate. When we talk about Pankajangri Prabhu of Mayapur, we cannot stop our discussion by not talking about Ayendra Prabhu of Vrindavan. It just goes hand in hand. So Shripad Ayendra Prabhu in the 1990s was also dressing Radha Shyam Sundar. Very interesting. So one day, it was 7:15, Darshanarti time. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Vajamehi. Typical Vrindavan style. The altar was about to open. Sannyasis were standing with danda. GBC was standing to take darshan of Radha Shyam Sundar. 7:15, the curtains flew open. And there is no flute in Krishna's hand. Krishna is just keeping like this and he's blowing into mid-air. There is no flute in Krishna's hand. Everyone was looking, where is the flute? Indra Prabhu placed the flute in Radharani's hand. Radharani was standing with the flute in her hand and Krishna had no flute. So the temple authorities, they went to Indra Prabhu and said, Indra Prabhu, what is this decoration? Flute is always there in Krishna's hand. And Indra Prabhu said, don't you know? Krishna learned the art of playing flute from Srimati Radharani. Whatever Krishna knows, it is from Srimati Radharani. That is why Radharani has one name called as Vamshi Chorini Shri Radha. That Radhika who stole the Vamshi of Krishna. So Indra Prabhu, in a jam-packed temple setting, he placed the flute in Radhika's hand and Radharani was holding a flute and Krishna was like blowing into mid-air. So the temple authorities, they went to Indra Prabhu and said, Indra Prabhu, all glories to your mood. But at the same time, we have to also see there are newcomers who are coming to the temple. So we have to also keep that into consideration. Kindly keep the flute back in Krishna's hand. And Indra Prabhu, he did not like it. He got very offended. He says, don't you understand? Radharani plays the flute. She stole the flute from Krishna's hand. But then because the temple authorities stole, Indra Prabhu closed the curtains again. After it was opened, he closed the curtains again, went inside, took the flute from Radharani's hand and gave it to Krishna. And Indra Prabhu said, go take your damn flute. He gave the flute at Krishna's hand and said, go play your flute. Be happy with your flute. You are not allowing Radharani to play the flute. Take your damn flute. Of course, we cannot emulate this, but Indra Prabhu was in a league of his own. So we find that Krishna has these different kinds of flute and various sweet flute pastimes that Krishna performs in the land of Braj. So the flute that Krishna holds on to is glorified here by the Braja Gopis. The Braja Gopis are singing the glories of the flute. And our Acharya's comment, the Braja Gopis are transcendentally jealous. Dear devotees, this is not the jealousy of this world. This is transcendental jealousy that is in connection with Sri Krishna. The Gopis are transcendentally jealous that the nectar of Krishna's lips, which is our property, this flute has taken that away. This flute has taken that right away that actually belongs to us and is not giving us anything. So the flute, the Braja Gopis headed by Srimati Radharani, they are transcendentally jealous. At the same time, they're also glorifying this flute. And we find in this section of the Venugit, there are two prominent verses that come up. Of course, all the 20 verses are very important, but there are two prominent verses that come up in this section of the Venugit, which are most often quoted. When the first time Chaitanya Bhagavat describes, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the first time came to meet Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not met Nityananda Prabhu. For the first time, when Shachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu came to meet Nityananda Prabhu, Nityananda Prabhu was shocked. Nityananda Prabhu was not able to speak anything. He was completely choked with tears in his eyes. He was stunned looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? Because Vrindavan Das Thakur describes Nityananda Prabhu went into the mood of Balaram and he started looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Vrindavan Krishna. He started looking at Krishna as someone who is having a flute, who is having Tribhang Lalit Shyam Sundar form, who is having a yellow garment. Nityananda Prabhu in the mood of Balaram started looking at Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Vrindavan Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu understood this. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not want to break this mood of our Nitai. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just looked at Srivas. Srivas had accompanied Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He looked at Srivas and said, Srivas, please chant a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Please pick any verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are 18,000 verses. Please pick any verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, so much so that it increases the mood of Nityananda Prabhu. Nitai, who's in the mood of Balaram, his mood should increase several notches higher. O Shrivas, chant a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Shrivas heard this from Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Shrivas chanted one verse from the Venu Gita. Shrivas very beautifully, he chants Canto 10, chapter 21, text 5. Shrivas at that point, he chants Barha Pidam Natavaravapu Karnayo Karnikaram Vibhradvasana Kanaka Kapisham Vaijayantim Jamalam Randran Venu Radhara Sudayan Purayan Gopa Vrindai Vrindaranyam Swapada Ramanam Pravishad Gita Kirtir. 10:21:5. When they met for the first time, Shrivas chanted this verse that glorifies the form of Shri Krishna, the Rupa Madhuri. It's quoted in the Venu Gita. It's the initial verses, 10:21:5. How Krishna has a crown of peacock feathers. How Krishna is the best dancer. How Krishna has a blue Karnikara flower in his ear. Krishna has 2 ears, but Krishna wears one Karnikara flower. Why? Because Krishna is very restless. Krishna wears Karnikara flower here. Within 5 minutes, he picks it up from here and keeps it here. And then again picks it up from here and keeps it here. Very restless nature. Keeps switching from one ear to another ear. So Karna Yoho, 2 ears, but Karnikara, 1 flower. Vishwanath Chakravarti describes. And Vaijayantim Jamalam. Krishna of Braj wears a Vaijayanti Mala. Vaijayanti Mala is a special garland made of 5 flowers. Mandara, Kunda, Parijata, Tulasi, and Kamala. Mandara, Kunda, Parijata, Tulasi, Kamala. When these 5 flowers come together, it is Vaijayanti Mala. And this is Krishna's trademark in Vrindavan. Krishna wears this garland. So Shrivas chanted this verse. And then the 3rd line says, how Krishna of Vrindavan would very sweetly play the flute and call all the Brajavasis, enchant all the Brajavasis. When Nityananda Prabhu started hearing that how Shri Krishna of Vrindavan plays his flute, Nityananda Prabhu had 440-volt jhatka. He was horripilating with tears in his eyes. Krishna, 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 remembering Krishna of Vrindavan. And our Nityananda Prabhu, hearing this verse from the Venu Gita, fell to the ground unconscious. So Chaitanya Bhagavat describes when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu met for the very first time, it was the verse from the Venu Gita that increased the rasa of their meeting. Pratham Milan, the first meeting. So it's a very important section, not just in terms of Braj Leela, even in terms of Gaur Leela. The first meeting between Chaitanya and Nityananda was through Venu Gita. So gopis here very beautifully, they glorify the sweetness of Krishna's ability to play the flute. And we find that whenever the Supreme Lord comes down to this world, he doesn't come alone. He comes with a set of his associates. He always comes down with a set of his associates. Similarly, our Supreme Lord, he doesn't come down alone. When he come down, when Shri Krishna and when Srimati Radharani, when they come down with their set of associates. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori Swaparshada Sviya Dhama Saha Avatari. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Shri Krishna comes down, they come down with 2 things. Swaparshada, they come down with their own associates, and Sviya Dhama, they come down with their holy land. So when Krishna comes down, he gets Vrindavan Dham along with him. And one time when Krishna was there with his friends, the friends started feeling very hungry. Small friends, right? They were feeling very hungry because they had gone deep inside the forest, which was far away from their home. And so they were feeling very hungry. And they did not have anything. Whatever they had packed, all the lunch box, everything was done. So they did not have anything to eat. So the friends, they turned towards Krishna and said, Krishna, now what? We are hungry. Do something. They know Krishna will do something, but they also know that Krishna is not God. Very unique kind of love. When they are in problem, they go to Krishna. When Krishna helps, they are convinced that Krishna is not God. So they turn towards Krishna and they say, Krishna, we are hungry. Do something. And Krishna, he says that, my dear friends, nearby there are some sadhus. There are some brahmanas who are doing yagya. Please go and ask them. They are doing some sacrifice. Please go and ask them and you will get something from them. So the friends, they agree and they go to the sadhu. They go to the brahmanas and they say that, oh brahmanas, Krishna and Balaram are here and they are very hungry. And along with them, we are also very hungry. So if you can give something to eat, that will satisfy our hunger. When the brahmanas heard this, they just chastised the friends away. Go, just go from here. Don't disturb us. We are doing the yagya. Don't be an impediment for us. Just go from here. So the friends got very offended and they got very sad and they came back to Krishna and they said, Krishna, the sages, they just chastised us. They did not give us anything. And when Krishna heard that, Krishna said, now go to the wives of the brahmanas. Go to the wives of those brahmanas, Dvija Patnis. Dvija means brahmana because Ja means Janma. Like we said, Janmashtami. So the word Ja stands for Janma. And Dvi means two. So brahmanas are called Dvija, which means twice born. Why twice born? The first birth is their biological birth through their parents. And second birth is spiritual master is the father and Gayatri is the mother. So twice born. So brahmanas are called as twice born, Dvija. Similarly, teeth is also called as Dvija. Vishwanath Chakravarti describes teeth is also called Dvija. Why? Because they have two births. First milk teeth, second permanent teeth. So they are also having two births, so they are also called Dvija. So we find Krishna, he told his friends that, my dear friends, go to the wives of those brahmanas and ask them. So the friends again went. When the friends asked the wives of the brahmanas, Dvija Patnis, the Dvija Patnis became so happy that the fruit of their meditation, the Krishna whom they were meditating for so many years, was now personally asking for something through the medium of his friends. The Dvija Patnis took all the best food that they had in their house, and rather than giving it to the friends, the Dvija Patnis themselves ran to Krishna, taking that as an opportunity to go and meet with Krishna. They left everything, just like the gopis left everything. The Dvija Patnis left everything and just ran towards Krishna. So much so that Bhagavatam describes there was one lady, one Dvija Patni who was not allowed. The in-laws were so strong that they didn't allow her. And now in the mood of separation, because she was stopped, she was bolted in the house. There was so much separation of not meeting Krishna that she gave up her body. Imagine the level of separation, dear devotees. We have not seen Krishna for so many lifetimes together, but still our heart is beating hale and hearty. And here, the Dvija Patni, when she gets to know that Krishna is there and she is not able to meet, so much separation that she leaves her body. But all the other Dvija Patnis, all the other wives of the Brahmanas, they run towards Krishna. And at that time, Shri Krishna is standing with his hand on the shoulder of his friend, and with one on his left arm, he's twirling a lotus. We would have seen that photo. And there is a very famous ISKCON photo where Krishna is standing with one arm this way, another arm there is a lotus. That is when the Dvija Patnis come to Krishna. The Dvija Patnis come to Krishna and give all the food that they have, and Krishna accepts them, and Krishna is very happy and very grateful. After Krishna gets this, Krishna says, now go home. The Dvija Patni say, what? Go home? We left everything. We left our husbands. We left our relatives to come to you, and you're saying, go home? Krishna, you're joking, right? Krishna said, no, go home. Just go home. The Dvija Patnis were shocked. They were looking at each other. Krishna, we left our families for you, and you are asking us to go home? At that time, Krishna said that stay in your home wherever you are and offer your mind to me. Manmana bhavamad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru Mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijani prayoshime. Think about me, contemplate about me, worship me, offer obeisances to me. Do this wherever you are. Do this, but do not leave your family and don't just run here. The Dvijapatnis, when they heard, they said, Krishna, all this is okay. Our husband will not accept us. We left our house for you. Our husband will not accept. Our relatives will not accept. Dear devotees, we're talking about 5,500 years ago. Even now, if a female leaves the house to go and meet someone else, there are high chances that there is going to be Mahabharat in the house when she comes back. Now we are talking about 5,500 years back. Krishna said, go back. And Krishna also gave a guarantee that don't worry, your husbands and your relatives will be completely fine with you. They will not say anything to you, but please go back. So then they went back, taking Krishna's instruction, offering the food that they had. They offered it to Krishna and they went back. And interestingly, as Krishna had promised, the husbands started glorifying their wives. That how glorious our wives are. We are doing so much yajna, we are doing so much tapasya. We couldn't understand that the fruit of our yajna was standing in front of us. We couldn't realize that. But look at our wives, they're so simple and straightforward like the flute. They could understand and they went and met with Shri Krishna. It is disgrace on us. We are doing so much yajna, but what's the use? And they use a very strong language, Bhagavatam describes. The sages are so disappointed that they couldn't meet with Krishna, that the sages start thinking to themselves. And the sages, they say, to hell with our education, to hell with our high birth, to hell with our aristocracy, to hell with all our yajnas, to hell with everything. What is the use of all this when Krishna has come and we are not able to see Krishna? This is the language of Srimad Bhagavatam, dear devotees. They say exactly this way, to hell with this, to hell with that, to hell with this, to hell with that. This is the language of Bhagavatam. They were feeling so much sorrow in their heart that Krishna came, but they couldn't meet. And finally, the Dvijapatnis who had got the darshan of Shri Krishna, wherever they were thinking about the Supreme Lord. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvataha. 7.3 Gita. Of so many millions and millions of people around, invariably all are atheists. Of them, there is some percentage who are theists. Of those theists, there are some who believe in the form of the God. Remaining all are nirakar. Bhagavan nahi hai. Nirgun hai. There is no form, there is no attributes, there are no qualities. We find so many like that. All are atheists. Of that, there are some are theists. Of that theist, majority are those who do not believe on the form of God. Of them, there are some who believe on the form of God. But in that, there are very few. Invariably, everyone treats Indra, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna as Bhagavan. But there are very few in that who understand that Vishnu is the topmost. Of that, there are very few who understand Krishna is the topmost. Of that, there is very few who understand that Mathura Krishna is the topmost. Of that, there is very few who understand Vrindavan Krishna is the topmost. Of that, there is very few who understand the Madhurya form of Krishna is the highest. Kaschin mam veti tatvata. There are very, very few people who have accepted this. So the Sangha that we are in right now, dear devotees, we have all paid a very heavy price in our past life to accept the fact that Madhurya Krishna, along with Srimati Radharani and the Brajagopis, this is the highest form of reality. It doesn't just come. It comes after a lot of lifetimes. Bahut papad bele hai. We have all struggled a lot for lifetimes to now come to this position to understand with full conviction that Radharani and Krishna are the highest. And the Dvijapatnis could now realize that, but the husbands could not. Husbands were feeling to themselves, what's the use of all the yajnas if Krishna is here, but we couldn't see. So Krishna is attracted by bhakti in the heart. What did the Dvijapatnis have? Nothing. They were simple. But the husbands were doing all big yajnas. but Krishna gave darshan to the Dvija Patnis. Jaya Dvija Patni Jaya Naga Kanyagan Bhakti Tejahara Pailo Govinda Charan. Jaya Dvija Patni Jaya. Glories, glories, glories to all the Dvija Patnis, the wives of the Brahmanas. Why? Bhakti te jahara paila Govinda Charan. By their bhakti, they conquered the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Krishna is only looking for bhakti in the heart, dear devotees, and nothing else. So Sri Krishna of Braj, in this way, we find his hunger was apparently satisfied through the Dvija Patnis. And as we were mentioning this point, that when Krishna comes down, he comes down with his associates, and he comes down with his land of Vrindavan Dham. Now we will hear a pastime that is very prominent, but we will now hear it in a very different way. We will try to hear a very prominent pastime of Braja Leela, but from a very different angle. We will not touch the mainstream pastime, but we will just try to touch on subtle points that are less heard. When Krishna decided to come down to this world, Krishna requested Srimati Radharani. And Radharani, when she heard, she said, I will come down, but I have 3 conditions. She said, I will come, but I have 3 conditions. And Krishna said, okay, what are the 3 conditions? Srimati Radharani said, I will come down, but I need Vrindavan Dham. I need Yamuna, and I need Govardhan. These 3 things I need Krishna. Without this, I will not come. So Radharani also has conditions. She puts conditions to Krishna. You give me these 3 things, then I will come back. The Prabhujis are already smiling. I don't know why, but the Prabhujis are already smiling hearing this. Srimati Radharani is this way. We can see how our grahastha is, but Srimati Radharani, she gives 3 conditions to Shri Krishna. If you do this, then I will come. So Krishna says, okay. And Krishna manifested the land of Braj. Krishna manifested Yamuna, and Krishna manifested Giriraj Govardhan. In the early 1960s, dear devotees, Srila Prabhupada had asked one of his female disciples, without taking names, he had asked one of his female disciples to paint the photo of Krishna lifting Giriraj. So she was a very good painter. So she took this instruction of Prabhupada and she went and painted. And she came back. And when Prabhupada saw that photo, Prabhupada started laughing like anything. For a few minutes, Prabhupada was laughing so much so that there were tears from Prabhupada's eyes. You see, sometimes when we laugh so much, the belly hurts and the eyes are like filled with tears. Prabhupada saw that photo and was laughing like anything. Why? Because this Mataji who had painted, she painted in such a way that Krishna had 6-pack, Krishna had biceps and triceps, and Krishna was lifting Giriraj Govardhan. Prabhupada saw that and he was laughing. And he said, what is this? So she said that, Prabhupada, you said Krishna is 7-year-old, and as 7-year-old, if he's lifting mountain, which means he should have biceps and triceps, he should be like very muscular, very well built. Prabhupada said, no, that is all for this world. For Krishna, however he is, Krishna can lift. He doesn't have to do LA fitness. He doesn't have to go to YMCA. He doesn't have to go to any of these things. Krishna, the way he is, he can lift Giriraj. So then that Mataji went back and she modified that painting. On a similar note, I'm remembering another pastime. One time, Srila Radhana Swami Maharaj, he told one of his disciples to paint a picture of Madhumangal. He said, go and paint Madhumangal. So that devotee was an expert painter. So he went and he painted Madhumangal. And he came back and he gave the photo to Srila Radhana Swami Maharaj. Maharaj saw that. And for some time, Maharaj was laughing. And Maharaj said, I don't know about whether he's Madhumangal or not, but I'm certainly sure that he looks like a sumo wrestler. The way you have drawn him, he looks like a sumo wrestler with a big tummy, with big arms and big legs. I'm not sure whether he's Madhumangal, but he's definitely a sumo wrestler. And Maharaj started laughing and he said, Maharaj gave the descriptions of how Madhumangal looks, and then he went back and changed. So we find Radharani comes with these 3 conditions, and Giriraj is one of the primary conditions. We have heard the story of Paulastya Muni. one of the sadhus who went to Dronagiri, one of the famous mountains. He went to Dronagiri, and Dronagiri was so happy with Paulaste Muni that Dronagiri said, "Oh, Paulaste Rishi, ask for anything. Whatever you ask today, I will give. Jo mangna hai mango, I will give today." So Paulaste Muni, he looked around because he was looking for a cave where he can sit and nicely do his bhajan. He can nicely chant. So he was looking for a cave. And he was looking this way, and his eyes fell on a very small, sweet, cute, attractive, small cave. And Paulaste Muni said, "I want this cave. I want this small mountain." Dronagiri said, "No, he is my son. He is Giriraj. He is so chotu. You take me. Don't take my son." Paulaste Muni said, "Remember, you gave the promise that whatever I want, you will give." Dronagiri said, "No, he is so small. Don't take my child. He is so cute." Govardhan was so small and very chubby, very sweet and very cute. He said, "Don't take him. Take me if you want." Paulaste said, "No, I want him." So Giriraj said, "Okay, I will come. I also have condition." Just like Radharani puts condition, Giriraj is also in the same camp. He also puts condition. Dear devotees, this mood of being submissive is called as Dakshin Bhav. And the mood of being contrary is called as Vamya Bhav. Good terms to know in Braj Leela. The mood of being submissive is called as Dakshin Bhav. The mood of being contrary is called as Vamya Bhav. So just like Radharani went contrary, when Krishna asked that, "Will you come?" she said, "Yes, I have 3 conditions." She went a little contrary. Similarly, Giriraj is having the same mood. "Will you come?" "Yes, I also have a condition." So Giriraj kept his condition. What was the condition? Giriraj said, "I will come. Wherever you take me, I will come. The condition is, you should not place me down. The moment you place me down, that's it. I will stay there for eternity. I will not move an inch." Paulaste said, "Don't worry. I am so powerful. There is no need for me even to lift. I will carry you such a way that you will levitate in air. I will not keep you down." And Giriraj said, yeah, we will see. Only time will say who carries me in what way possible." So Paulaste Muni picked up Giriraj, and very easily he was traveling. What does the name Paulaste start with? What is the first alphabet? P. Exactly. The first alphabet is P, and Paulaste Muni had the desire to pee. So he kept Giriraj down and he had the desire to pee. He kept Giriraj down and he went to pee. Now when he went to pee, he came back and said, "Giriraj, good boy, come back." And Giriraj said, "No, you broke the promise. Remember, I told you should not keep it down." Paulaste Muni said, "That was a promise, but I had the desire to pee. This is nature's call." Giriraj said, "Nothing doing. I will not leave. You have kept me down. I will not leave." And Giriraj was very firm, not ready to leave. Paulaste Muni got so angry. He said, "I curse you. You are a mountain and you have so much adhikar. I curse you that every day you will reduce by the size of a sesame seed." And we see during Krishna's time, Giriraj was so big. And now Giriraj has become so chotu. That chotu Giriraj is also very big for us, 21 kilometers. But earlier Giriraj was even bigger. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this is not the real reason why Giriraj is shrinking. Because Giriraj is a superior devotee than Paulastya. Paulastya Muni is nowhere in comparison to Giriraj. Radharani calls Giriraj as the best devotee. So where is Paulastya Muni? So someone who is on a lower platform cannot curse someone who's on a higher platform. Doesn't work that way. So then if the curse of Paulastya did not work, then why is it that Giriraj is shrinking? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, oh, there is a very deep reason. Giriraj was waiting from Satya, Treta. He was waiting that Krishna will come and perform his pastimes. When Krishna finally came in Dwapar, Krishna used Giriraj to perform all his pastimes. But after Krishna departed this world, Giriraj started feeling separation. So much so that Giriraj is also personality. He started feeling so much separation that his body started entering the ground. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, now only the eyes are visible of Giriraj. The eyes are hunting. Where is Radha and Krishna? The Radha and Krishna who performed so many pastimes, where have they gone? So the Giriraj that we find right now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says they are just the remaining eyes. The remaining body has gone underground in separation, and not the curse of Paulastya, because Paulastya, being a lower devotee in comparison to Giriraj, cannot curse Giriraj. So Giriraj came to Braj, and now Giriraj was very happy. He was waiting from Satya, Treta, and now Dwapar, when Krishna came, he was very happy. When Krishna turned 3, Giriraj became so happy that flowers started blossoming. The best fruits, the ripe fruits started coming. Trees started growing in size. Waterfalls were there. Everything in the best possible way Giriraj started giving. Why? Giriraj got excited because Giriraj knew that Krishna is now 3. In 3 more years, which means Krishna, when he turns 6, Krishna will come for Gocharan. For Gopashtami, Krishna will come to my forest. And when Krishna comes, I have to give him fruits. I have to give him water. I have to give him leaves. Giriraj got so excited that 3 years before, he was making preparations. So happy, so eager to serve. There is a reason why Radhika is calling Giriraj as the best devotee. 3 years ago, he started his preparation. Now we find, as the pastime unfolds, Krishna was playing with his friends, and suddenly Krishna is very curious. He wants to know everything. Whatever anyone is doing in any part of Vrindavan, Krishna wants to know. Sab janna hai Bhagavan ko. Very curious. Like children, you see, when they're very small, they are like always asking their parents, what is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? Always question. Like a question bank. Krishna is like that. Krishna is a question bank, always asking questions. He went to Nanda Baba. Baba, Pitaji, what is this? What are you doing? And Nanda Maharaj said, oh, Krishna, nothing for you. Go and play, Krishna. Krishna was not a personality who will go and play. He is now curious to know what his father is doing. Krishna came back again and said, Pitaji, what is this? What are you doing? Please tell me. And Nanda Maharaj said, Krishna, we are doing a sacrifice to please Indra. Krishna, Indra is rain devata. He is the rain god. So till the time we don't please him, we will not get rain. If we don't get rain, Krishna, we will not have proper vegetation. No proper vegetation means nothing to eat. Nothing to eat means, Krishna, no butter for you. No butter for you, Krishna. And Nanda Maharaj thought that this was a Ramban, that Krishna would agree. But it backfired. Krishna said, Acha, you have to please Indra, only then you will get rain. Nanda Maharaj said, yes. Krishna said, my dear father, if that is the case, please tell me, what yagya are the oceans doing? The oceans are also there. What yagya are the oceans doing? They are also getting the rain. What yagya are the birds and animals doing? They are also getting the rain. Which means, Pitaji, one thing is clear. You don't have to worship Indra to get rain. Whatever you do, you will still get rain. And Nanda Maharaj was perplexed. Krishna's answers were logical. It made sense. And Krishna said, my dear father, you don't have to please Indra. Please Giriraj. Giriraj is so kind. He fulfills all the desires. Please Giriraj. And Nanda Maharaj said, how do we please Giriraj? Even if we offer all the foodstuffs, will Giriraj eat? Krishna said, Baba, don't doubt the potency of Giriraj. Giriraj will definitely eat whatever you have cooked. Just offer it to Giriraj. One time this question was asked to Pankajangri Prabhu, that my dear Prabhu, we worship Narsinghadev, who is in the mood of Raudra, anger. We worship Radha Krishna, who is in the mood of sweetness. So if we are worshippers of Radha and Krishna, who are in the mood of sweetness, how is it that we are worshipping Narsinghadev, who is in the mood of anger? Isn't it Rasabhas? It's like complete opposite moods. And Pankajangri Prabhu gave a very beautiful answer. He said, when the Navadvip Vasis have a problem, whom do the Navadvip Vasis go to? Tava kara kamala vare nakham adbhuta shringam dalitam hiranyakashipu tano bringam keshavadrita narahari rupa jaya jagadesha hare jaya jagadesha hare Jai Jagadesha Hare. When the Navadvip Vasis have a problem, they go to Nrsingadev. Now Pankaj Angri Prabhu said, when the Brajvasis have a problem, whom do they go to? There is no Nrsingadev in Braj. Whom do the Brajvasis go to? They go to Giriraj. They go to Govardhan. The same role that Nrsingadev plays in Navadvip, that same role Giriraj plays in Vrindavan. The same protection that Nrsingadev gives in Navadvip, that same protection Giriraj gives in the land of Braj. So it's not Rasabhas. Pankaj Angri Prabhu very beautifully reconciled it. So now the Brajavasis offered all the food, and Krishna expanded himself and sat on top of Giriraj and ate everything. And as the story unfolds, Indra got very angry. He sent the Samvartaka clouds, the most powerful clouds that he had. And it started raining heavily. Please hear this, dear devotees. This is the last few minutes of our discussion. It started raining heavily. And Indra was very happy because now he was saying Krishna and the Brajavasis were in a dilemma. They were in a problem. It was raining. And at that time, the Brajavasis turned towards Krishna. Krishna, now what? We did what you said. We agreed to all your terms and conditions. Now what? Krishna says, don't worry. Giriraj will protect us. And Krishna, with his pinky finger, very easily lifted Giriraj. Very easily. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Krida Kandukatam Yena Nito Govardhana Giri. Just like a small child lifts up a toy, Krishna lifted Giriraj effortlessly. And now it was raining and all the Brajavasis were underneath Giriraj. At that time, Indra asked his associates, go down and check what's the situation, because Krishna had lifted the Giriraj. So the associates of Indra, they came down and they checked and they couldn't find anyone. So they went back to Indra and said, Indra, 100% success. All the Brajavasis are dead. Your rains are so powerful that Brajavasis could not survive. Indra, good job. You won. All the Brajavasis are gone. Indra thought to himself, go and check one more time. There is something wrong. Go and check one more time. So one more time they came down. And this time when they came down, the associates of Indra, they saw underneath Giriraj. When they saw underneath Giriraj, the Vrajavasis were having a gala time. They were enjoying. Some were having prasad, some were dancing, some were talking. So much so that it is described, some Brajavasis were playing chess underneath Giriraj. It's raining outside and they were playing chess. And the associates came. They looked and said, what is this? It's raining outside and they're playing chess inside. As if nothing has happened. They went back to Indra. Not 100%, 0%. They are having a gala time. In fact, they're having a much better time than before. All of them are together and they're having a very nice time. So Indra did not understand what to do. And this time Krishna was lifting Giriraj. And actually our Acharya has described, Krishna was apparently lifting Giriraj, but Giriraj was so excited to serve that he was levitating 1 inch above Krishna's pinky finger. Krishna was holding this way, but he was levitating 1 inch above. And Krishna saw that, wait a minute, Giriraj is levitating 1 inch above. So Krishna he placed his pinky finger so that it looks like Krishna is lifting. But Giriraj was levitating, so much desire to serve. And now Krishna was waiting. Krishna had lifted Giriraj, but Giriraj was kind of still moving. The Brajavasis placed sticks underneath, trying to protect Krishna. That Krishna, we are also lifting Giriraj. You are lifting, we are also helping you. They were placing sticks. Now, dear devotees, we can imagine what is the value of those sticks in front of a mountain. In a fraction of a second, the sticks are going to break, but still they're placing sticks to help Krishna. And Krishna accepts that service. But Krishna's eyes are hunting. His eyes are thirsty. His eyes are searching for someone. Krishna is searching for Radharani. Radharani had not come till now. Krishna was waiting when Radharani comes. And now this news reached throughout Brajmandal. And the Barsana Vasis, Vrishabhanu Maharaj, brought her daughter. Because Vrishabhanu Maharaj cannot keep the daughter at home, he brought the daughter also. Radharani came. When Radharani came, now Krishna, like a charismatic hero, very confidently started lifting Giriraj. The Giriraj who was moving, looking at Radharani, now Krishna is very effortlessly lifting. As Krishna is lifting Giriraj, Krishna's one eye, he is looking towards Radharani. And from here, Mother Yashoda is looking at Krishna. Hey, wait a minute. You are looking at Radharani? What is going on, Krishna? So Krishna is managing both. He is looking at Radharani, at the same time he's looking at Mother Yashoda. He's looking at Radhika, same time looking at Mother Yashoda. Managing Vatsalya Ras, the scolding nature of Maya Yashoda, at the same time managing his Madhurya Ras. He was holding on to Giriraj now. Now, dear devotees, very interesting. Krishna lifted Giriraj. For 7 days, Krishna lifted Giriraj, 7 days and 7 nights. After 7 days and 7 nights, Indra understood there is no point. He is Bhagavan. Indra came down. Along with Surabhi cow, he came down. The same Surabhi cow who accompanied Brahmaji to beseech Krishna for his appearance. That same Surabhi cow now went with Indra to ask forgiveness from Shri Krishna. And Indra started offering prayers. Please give me a few minutes, dear devotees. I'm just begging for a few minutes. Started offering prayers. And when Indra started offering prayers, Krishna very easily forgave Indra. Interesting. Indra committed such a big offense, right? He very easily forgave Indra. If you remember Brahma Vimohan Leela, Brahmaji offers almost 55 to 60 verses and Krishna is looking here and there, not wanting to hear verses from Brahmaji. And now Indra is offering prayers and Krishna very easily forgives. Within few verses, Krishna says, okay, I forgive you. Why? Shripad Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a very deep reason. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes what Brahmaji did was a greater offense than what Indra did. Why? Because Brahmaji stole Krishna's friends. But by stealing Krishna's friends, he separated Krishna from his dear associates. But Indra, even though he showered rain, he reunited all of Krishna's associates, and Krishna loved this. Because the Brajavasis, the Sakhas, wanted 24 hours with Krishna, but they could only get morning. Maya Yashoda wanted 24 hours with Krishna, but she could only get some time in the day. Radhika and the Brajagopis, they wanted 24 hours with Krishna, but they could only get night. So the Brajavasis always wanted 24 hours with Shri Krishna, but they could never get it. And Indra was used as an instrument to fulfill all the rasas. The Sakhiras got happiness, the Vatsalyaras got happiness, the Madhuriras got happiness. So even though externally it was seen that Indra tried to kill the Brajavasis, Krishna forgave him. Because in the attempt of his Samvartaka clouds, all the Brajavasis got reunited. So Krishna forgave him. And after 7 days and 7 nights, when Krishna kept Giriraj down, Mother Yashoda's motherly love started flowing. She saw her Lala lifting Giriraj. But Maya is convinced he is not God. He cannot be God. How can he be God? He cannot be God. And out of motherly love, she tells Krishna, Krishna, 7 days you have not eaten properly. You should be very hungry. 7 days you have not eaten. What to speak of eating? The Lord provides foodstuffs to everyone. But Maya Yashoda's love, she tells Krishna, you have not eaten anything. And now Krishna is a big time foodie. Krishna loves to eat. And that is the reason even devotees love to eat. Our Lord loves to eat. That's why devotees also love to eat. Krishna is a big time foodie. So much so that Krishna eats 8 times in a day. 8 times in a day, Krishna keeps munching something. His mouth is always munching, always eating something. 8 times in a day, Krishna eats. And now Mother Yashoda thought, Krishna, you eat 8 times in a day. For 7 days, you have not eaten anything. 8 times 7, 56. On the 8th day, Mother Yashoda prepared 56 items as a compensation that Krishna, you have not eaten anything. This is the origin for Chappan Bhog. Where is the concept of Chappan Bhog coming from? From Govardhan pastime. Krishna would eat 8 times. 7 days he didn't eat. 8 times 7, 56. On the 8th day, 56 items were given to Krishna. And Krishna, very readily, he enjoyed everything with all his friends. Krishna doesn't say no for such gifts. Whenever he got prasad, he had everything. Chappan Bhog origin came from Giriraj pastime. But dear devotees, there is a very internal reason why Giriraj pastime happened. Krishna was called by Chandravali. Who is Chandravali? She is also Krishna's devotee. Just like Radhika is Krishna's devotee, Chandravali is also Krishna's devotee. So whenever Krishna is called by Radharani, Krishna goes there. But if he is called by Chandravali, Krishna also goes there because both are devotees. Both have transcendental rivalry, but both are devotees, and Krishna has to go when his devotees are calling. Chandravali had called Krishna, and Krishna had gone to meet Chandravali. And now in Giriraj, dear devotees, we find it's filled with sand. When you walk in sand, the footprints are there. Krishna had walked with Chandravali. Krishna and Chandravali's footprints were there. Now Krishna was afraid. If Radharani sees my footprints with Chandravali's footprints, Radharani will go mad. She will go in man. Krishna didn't know what to do. Krishna told Indra, I will lift Giriraj. You pour water so that all the footprints are completely washed away. I will lift it as much time as possible. You make sure to wash all the footprints so that there are no more footprints in above Giriraj. Indra said, okay. Krishna lifted Giriraj. For 7 days, 7 nights, Indra was showering rain so much so that Chandravali's footprints and Krishna's footprints that were together gets completely washed. And when Krishna got a heads up, Indra said, Krishna, it's done. Now Krishna said, okay, now I can take it down because now Radhika will not say anything. So Krishna, to protect himself, lifted Giriraj. Krishna very beautifully lifts Giriraj. Now comes the very interesting point here, devotees. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur puts a googly here. He gives us such a beautiful commentary. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur here says, with which hand Krishna eats? Right hand. Krishna always eats with right hand. He steals with right hand. He eats with right hand. Even the Mrud Bhakshan, when he was eating dirt, it was with right hand. When he's eating butter, with right hand, which means Krishna is a righty. Predominantly Krishna is righty. Well, externally we can say Krishna is God, Krishna is righty, lefty, etc. But in Vrindavan, he is not God. So predominantly Krishna is righty. If Krishna is righty, why is he lifting Giriraj with his left? We see we will not lift anything that is so voluminous with your wrong hand. You will always want to lift something with your conventional hand, not with your hand that is not your conventional hand. Krishna is a righty. So if he had to lift Giriraj, he should have lifted with right hand. He is using left hand to lift Giriraj. Why? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur very beautifully says, what is there in the left side of Sri Krishna? His heart. Who is there in the heart of Sri Krishna? Radharani. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, wait a minute. It was not Krishna who lifted Giriraj. It is my Radharani who lifted Giriraj because she is there in the left side of Sri Krishna. We see Radharani sprang from Krishna's left side. Krishna's left side is Radhika. That is why in the altar also we find Krishna standing, but to Krishna's left is Radhika always. So from the left side is Krishna. From the left side of Krishna is Srimati Radharani. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Krishna could have lifted with right hand, but Krishna knew that this is very difficult. Krishna doubted his own capabilities. So he took shelter of Srimati Radharani Shakti and very confidently Krishna picked up his left arm. Left arm, that also the leftmost pinky finger. Krishna made sure as much left as possible. Left arm with the leftmost pinky finger. Why? Because the left side, Krishna gets the Shakti from Radharani. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, apparently it was seen Krishna lifted. But no. It was Srimati Radharani who gave that Shakti to Sri Krishna to lift Giriraj. In the Bhagavad Gita we find Krishna says, Mama Teja Amsha Sambhava. Krishna very confidently says, Mama Teja Amsha Sambhava. Oh Arjuna, this is just a spark of my splendor. Similarly, this act of lifting Giriraj is a spark of Radharani's splendor. Mama Teja Amsha Sambhava. This is Radharani Shakti. Very easily, she gives power to Krishna to lift Giriraj. Vishwanath Chakravarti says that is the reason Krishna didn't use right hand, but used left hand. Even in the left hand, the leftmost finger. Why? Because the more left it is, the more Krishna not just remembers Radharani, but also gets Shakti from Srimati Radharani. With this, the Giriraj pastime was completed and all the Brajavasis were back to their normal schedule. I'll just take 2 more minutes, dear devotees. I know we have gone over time. We'll just take 2 more devotees so that we don't lag in our next class. After this pastime was done, Nanda Maharaj, he went to take a bath early morning during Brahma Muhurta. Without missing the japa call, he went to take a bath in the morning. And when he took the morning bath, at that time, Nanda Maharaj got arrested. Nanda Maharaj got arrested. He got arrested by the servants of Varuna, the predominant deity for water, the god for water, Varuna Dev. The servants of Varuna Dev went and arrested Nanda Maharaj when he was taking bath. Why? Because the servants of Varun Dev, they thought that this, according to Shastra, or according to the time or Muhurta, is not an appropriate time to take a bath. So they thought that Nanda Maharaj breached that protocol, because of which Nanda Maharaj got arrested. And Nanda Maharaj was taken deep down in the water to the courtroom of Varuna Dev. When he was taken deep down, the Vrajavasis again went to Krishna. Krishna, protect your father. Your father has been arrested by the servants of Varuna Dev. So Krishna went to the courtroom down under. He went to the courtroom. Like in our geography, we have down under. Down under is Australia. Similarly, in our Braj, down under is underneath, down under the water, where Krishna went to protect his father, down under. So Krishna went down and he went to the courtroom of Varuna Dev. When Varuna Dev saw Krishna, he fell at the feet of Krishna and said, Krishna, forgive me. My servants are very foolish. They did not realize that the Supreme Lord's father was taking bath. My dear Krishna, please forgive. And Krishna said, don't worry. And Krishna very easily accepted the apology of Varuna Dev and rescued his father. And when Nanda Maharaj came out, Nanda Maharaj narrated to the Vrajavasis what he saw as to how Varuna Dev was offering prayers to Krishna. And the Vrajavasis were perplexed. They were thinking that, oh, maybe Krishna is Narayan, maybe he is Vishnu. Sometimes the Vrajavasis get some doubt that maybe he's God, but immediately Yogamaya is so strong. Within next second, it gets completely covered. No, he is not God. If he is God, why does he steal? God means he's self-sufficient. Why does he steal? Why does he lie? He is not God. Very interesting love. So that time, the Brajavasis, they told Krishna that, Krishna, you went down under and you were glorified by all of them. Will that day ever come in our lives when we can see the transcendental abode? Krishna, we know you can show that to us. If you think we are qualified, can you show the transcendental abode to us? And the Vrajavasis are more than qualified. Krishna agreed. Krishna took them down into the same water. And this time Krishna took them to the spiritual world. And when Krishna took them to the spiritual world, the Vedas, the Samhitas, the Aranyakas, the Puranas, all of them were glorifying, personalities personified. They were glorifying Krishna, one prayer after another. Krishna, you are God. Krishna, you are this. Krishna, you are that. The Vrajavasis saw all of this. But the Vrajavasis were thinking to themselves, they may be glorifying, but actually Krishna is fortunate. We are not fortunate. Krishna is fortunate. Why? Because Krishna has us as his friends. We are his friends. We are his parents. Krishna is not fortunate. We are not fortunate. Krishna is fortunate because Krishna has us. The Vedas and Samhitas were glorifying Krishna in the spiritual world. But the Brajavasis were still convinced he's not God. When Krishna again gets them back here to Bhauma Vrindavan, back to square one. Their love is so much that they completely forgot whatever they saw. Again, Mother Yashoda starts chastising. Again, Krishna starts stealing with his friends. Again, Mother Yashoda prepares butter. Back to square one. The love of Braj is so much, irrespective of how much our Aishwarya Krishna demonstrates, their love does not go down. It is always intact. And they don't consider themselves fortunate, they consider Krishna fortunate. They think, "Oh, we are fortunate, Krishna is more fortunate because Krishna has us." So much love. After Shukadev Goswami described this as to how Krishna described or Krishna showed the spiritual world, Krishna now starts the most important section of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the start of the rasa dance. How Shukadev Goswami describes that and what happens in the rasa dance, we will see that in the next class. Kaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Shri Braja Gopis ki jai, Shri Venu Geet ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.